What's going on, beautiful people? Today I'm going to be making a 4-foot tank for a bunch of endlers I've got. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I'm looking forward to actually putting it into practice, and I'm pretty sure it's going to turn out really good. So in this algae infested tank you can see here, we have got about, I don't know, about 20, 30 endlers. This is that weird algae that's like, it's kind of stringy but kind of not. It's almost like a moss ball that just goes everywhere, anywhere, and never again am I using any of that stuff. But yeah, as you can see, we've got males, we've got females, we've got babies, we've got a little group of cories as well. I'll probably move them across with them. And we've got some really nice natural coloration males as well. Oh, they keep moving too much. Stay in focus, please. There we go, look, switch the lens up. Look at those colors. Beautiful. And I've also got a load more in this bowl here. So these are the Santa Maria endlers, actually some of my favorite. Let me see the males. No, not to forget about the females, but the Santa Maria males have got this really cool, there we go, look at this one here, look. So it's got like they've got like a black top and then a bit of green and orange that runs underneath. That's a perfect example right there, if that reflection wasn't in the way. Anyway, we've got quite a few. So the tank that we're going to be setting it up in is this one here, right next to the rainbow fish tank. It's pretty mucky though. It's got a load of grime in it from previously when we had the Malawi cichlids in here. We just like feeding them quite heavy. So yeah, it's got a little bit gunky. Let's give it a clean up. It's not really a great start, is it, with all this crud all over the surface? Or the rim, I should say, with all the sort of mineral deposits and bits of old leaves and food. So today's video is proudly sponsored by API and Aquarian. These are pretty much the only products I use in the whole studio. Oh, and not to forget the master test kit as well. And yeah, I think the results pretty much speak for themselves. The whole place is looking so good at the moment as well. Obviously, I mainly focus on planting tanks, and I put it down to leaf zone combined with the root tabs as one of the main reasons why the tanks just look so good. The plants are growing so healthy. And the foods from Aquarian are absolutely great as well. All fish are looking real healthy and great at the moment too, so thank you guys so much for sponsoring this video, many of the other videos, and just supporting this whole project, which is continuing to grow. And we have got some fantastic tanks lined up for you guys in the future as well, which these guys are going to play a big role in. Throughout the video, we're going to be using these products, more details as they happen, but for now, back to the video. So that's clean enough. I mean, there's a couple of dirty spots, but it doesn't really matter, does it? First of all, as always, substrate system first. I'm going to want to bank up two of the sides a little bit. So I'm just gonna put in something that's like a bit of a mix. Stuff I've recycled when I've cleaned out other tanks. It's got gravel, sand, a little bit of aqua soil, probably a little bit of pond soil and things like that as well. It's all gonna be locked down. That means locked down. So yeah, don't worry about the constituents of it. And what makes it up, it doesn't matter. It's just to bulk up like space. So we don't have to use expensive substrates and things to build up that level. And inside here, this is the stuff I want. Look at that. You see that? Literally just a mix of everything. Gravel, sand, aqua soil, nothing special. And to be honest, you could even use like garden pea gravel. I've used it before to great effect. Obviously that hasn't got any nutrients in it at all, so I'm kind of using this recycled stuff because there is a little bit in there. The plant roots will use it, it will help, but it isn't essential because even pea gravel eventually gets sort of saturated, if you like, with the poop and the breakdown of the plant, so it all becomes nutrient over a certain amount of time. But if you can do it with aqua soil as well and you've got the budget, pour some aqua soil in, it won't hurt. Right, I think I will want more than that at some stage, but for now that's perfect. I basically want one larger island this side and one smaller one this side, as you can see, but the hardscape will mimic that as well. And I want it to sort of cross in that middle and make like a channel. It's quite hard to explain, but then I've got all the branches coming in either side as well. If what I'm picturing works out, it should look pretty epic. But for now, I need some like nice chunky wood to be able to really sort of be the main focus straight away when you look at the tank. That cross, that's gonna hopefully happen in the middle. I've got lots to choose from, so I should be able to find the right pieces. I've got a couple of big pieces there. I've got a load of big pieces I've put in the 8-foot, which most of them are going there, but not all of them. This is coming soon, by the way. I know lots of you are patiently waiting. By the time you've seen this video, it will be being scaped. Got some nice big pieces down here next to the API shrine. More big pieces, more big pieces, more twiggy. Some big pieces there, that might work quite well, and under there. And then there's those giant ones up there as well. So yeah, I've got plenty, haven't I? Spoilt for choice, if anything. So first piece is this nice sort of long one. thinking that can go somewhere there with a rock behind it as well, so it's raised. I quite like that arch area that's sort of alluring to that middle section. I want to keep clear. Let's get a nice rock under it as well, give it that height. And then I've got this nice big piece as well. I'm going for sort of straighter lines, so hopefully this will work nicely. Maybe something like that, but with the height. Liking what's come up with so far, I just need more height on each side. So I'm going to put even more rocks in. That's better, coming in from that angle. It was too much of a flat line, I think, before, but now we've got it doing that and then sweeping back that way. I think that's much more sort of pleasing. And I'm going for a natural style here, so the natural sort of river areas that these endlers will be from. So I'm not going for big, high, pointy scape. It's going to be more of a subtle sort of rivery look. I think another nice rock out here will bring it into the foreground even more. Try and sort of blend it with the wood a little bit. But yeah, that's sort of following the line as well then. I like that. And then some more over here as well, just sort of bringing it all together. There, and I think another one here. Oh yes, this is a nice one. This is a proper rivery rock, this one. And this rock, for those of you that are interested, is called Yangtze. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'll put it up on the screen anyway. But yeah, I got it from Aquarium Gardens when I went there recently. It's a beautiful rock. It works so well with river-style tanks, just because it's got that sort of smooth edges to it, and it looks like it's been eroded in the water for like a really long time. So that's the main structure done. We will build upon that, but for now, I want to get everything sort of capped over with sand and lock all of the nutrients into place. And that's going to show us where our planting zones are, and we can put in some root tabs as well, just to make sure, you know, we've got that long-lasting nutrient supply. So I've got this play sand down here. It's not really what I want for like the final look, but it'll work really well as a capping layer. It's quite fine and like not really detailed, but yeah, I'll lock everything down nicely. Right, so that is all looking sweet, and we've got our main structure locked down. We're adding more detail to this, don't worry. It's just, I wanted to get that all in place first. I've added one rock there, just to ensure that the whole thing doesn't float, but you can't really see it, so that's ideal. I've also glued down any contact points. So for example, if you look there where the rock meets the wood, there's some super glue gel. Yeah, so it's the Superfish super glue gel. Basically, when it sets, it goes like a hard plastic. It's completely safe for the fish and everything. But every contact point where a rock meets, I put quite a lot of that on. Make sure you take your time with that stage. You do not want your hard work all floating after you've planted it. So yeah, take your time, make sure everything's glued down. Now I'm gonna add more detail, more wood. I think like here, for instance, maybe some elsewhere, but definitely there needs something coming down this section. There we go, I've just added in a few more pieces. Like I say, this one here is looking really good following the lines. And then I wanted to bring that background one out a little bit more as well, sort of like a staggered look. And then there's areas for planting in the middle, but also in the foreground as well. But anyway, let's just transform this now, because at the moment that looks weird. And some people might just have one color sand in their tank and think, why doesn't mine look detailed? The secret and the magic to this next part is just transforming. Like, to actually put the detail in, it instantly just starts to look like an actual landscape or an underwater scene rather than a pile of wood and sand. So in these bags, I've got just a complete mix of different sands and different colors. I'm going to put them all together in a bucket and just sort of mix it up, and that's going to give us different gradings and shadings, and it should look pretty good. Okay, I've got just a normal sand to start with. Then I've got some recycled stuff here, which has got a little bit more coarse, and the odd piece of gravel in as well. That's wet though, but not to worry. And then I've got like a coarser sort of sand that's verging on fine gravel, I would say. Just a little bit more detail. Get some of that in there. Nice. And then just mix everything up. I say, oh, that's a ceramic weight. We don't want that. Look at that. There's some really good natural tones going on there. I like that a lot. There we go, all mixed up, and now we can use this as our capping layer over the top of the capping layer.
It doesn't have to be as thickly put on. It's more just for aesthetics, but it'll also add extra media to be able to plant into as well. There we go. That's the sort of rivery look that I really, really want. Obviously, even more detail will be added, but at this stage, I can now see where my planting zones are going to be, and I can add some root tabs to those areas. If I'd have done it at the start, it might have been underneath the log or areas I'm not going to plant. So now is the really good time to do that. And I'm going to be using the API root tabs. Now, lots of you watched the channel for a long time will know that I use these in basically every single setup. So they contain iron and potassium, which is essential ingredients for plants. So for a tank this size, I'm going to use the whole pack, so that is 10 tablets, and I'm just going to split it over in the areas where I know there's going to be the planting. And I just know that the plants will take off straight away from day one. You cannot go wrong. I've done just sand before in these tabs and had great results, but with a little bit of nutrients underneath plus these, it's going to be like onto a winner straight away. And a really good way of getting your tank off to a flourishing start is to get that plant growth as soon as possible. Sometimes the roots can take a week or two to sort of bed in, if you like, to their new sort of environment. But I found if you've got a strong nutrient source around those roots to start with, they're going to find it, they're going to adapt, and you're going to get far less chance of algae because the plant is just using all of the nutrients that are available in the system. So I'm going to go with a tab in this section. I know there's going to be a good amount of plants there. Push it down as about 1.5 to 2 inches, I guess. Cover it back over again so it's locked in. Definitely going to want some in this area. Basically going to put 5 on this half of the tank and then 5 on the other half. Awesome, nutrients sorted, and now it's time for the detail stones. So I'm going to add in a little bit more than usual with this one because I really, really want to go for that sort of underwater vibe. I mean like river underwater vibe, you know? And to be honest, in rivers, most of the time it's more gravel than sand. Because obviously a lot of the sand's getting washed away whilst a lot of the gravel can stay put, unless it's like stupidly fast, of course. So that's the sort of look I'm going to go for here. Just keep adding it until I'm happy. But as usual, I'm just picking points on the rock and just letting it fall down it into place around it all, nice and close. And don't be afraid to be aggressive with it and just do whatever feels right to you. I'm not overthinking this at all, I'm just chucking it in. Oh yes, there we go, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, look at that. It just all merges it all in nicely, makes it all kind of cohesive in a way. And I really like that look, like lots, because normally I do less of a sprinkle than that, but I've gone for like a lot of dense and close together, quite compact. I was gonna say planting them, it's not planting, is it? It's gravel dropping. And yeah, right up in that corner as well there, look, I've just piled that in. So yeah, I just really think that's gonna look so good when we've got plants in different sections, a little bit of a creep as well to some plants coming forwards. Obviously this part of the tank is too shallow to plant in, but it doesn't stop runners coming into that section. So if you plant them back there and back there, they will creep eventually as well.
So that is looking fantastic. Now you could stop there, and quite ordinarily I would stop there, but I've got a bag of amazing sort of mixed gravel. I got it when I was also at Aquarium Gardens getting the wood. I've never used it before, so I think I'll give it a go. It'll work perfectly in this scape to add more detail because we've got quite big rocks. Then we've got the really small gravel and then the sand, but there's nothing really in between.
Yeah, this is the stuff here, look, it's from WEO, and it's completely graded differently. So ordinarily to get this mix, you'd have to buy like 5 different products of different gradings. So yeah, a really good product here. So you've got that complete mixed bag of gradings, should work really well. Oh yes, look at that. It's basically a riverbed now. All the whiteness of the pebbles and stuff, that's going to dull quite a lot when the water's in there and go more of a grey sort of colour. Shall I spray it down now? Let's spray it down, see how it looks. Here we go, I've got my pumpy mister thing, which is nearly out of water. Look at that, you get the idea. Just looks real, doesn't it? So it's all in the details. It's all about adding the less perfectness to it when you're doing a riverscape, I think. Very different to the whole Amano sort of style, which is a very sort of clean, sanded foreground, but For me, I prefer this style. And another thing is, when you get a bit of fish poop or the odd bit of mold and that collecting, all it does is just add to the realism. And that means less maintenance, which I'm all for. And you may have noticed, I've got new merch. This is the design that my little son Henry did, Henry Doodles. It's the MD Doodles line. It's a frog. He brought it home from school, drew a picture and brought it home and said, look Daddy, I did these. He did quite a few of them. I've posted them all up on my Instagram. He's doing some more as well. But I just looked at them and thought it looks so sort of stylized, if you know what I mean. I had to get it. A lot of you showed interest. If you want one, there's a link available in the bottom, you can get it. I just thought they were great, so yeah. So the initial plan was to have wood coming in from the side, branchy wood coming in from the top down the sides, so it sort of acts like a riverbank. I'm not sure if that will still work, but I'm gonna give it a go and just see how it looks. I'm thinking might be a good case for it on this side because of all of that negative space. We want some negative space, but that might be too much. So let's just see how it looks. Oh yeah, negative space is just a fancy way of saying there's nothing there. Yeah, so I've got these amazing manzanita branches and was initially thinking, oh, if I can lock it in. That's not a nice noise. Something sort of like that. Actually, that looks wicked. Not gonna lie, that looks great. Maybe the other side as well, but it might be too much. Move this light a little. How's that looking from the front? It does give it an awesome vibe where it's just filling out the whole of the aquarium, but it still gives a difference between the foreground and the background, like it goes on for a long distance. Maybe have a little bit of a play with a few more pieces and see what we can come up with. Oh yeah, look at that. It's giving me proper foresty, river's edge sort of vibes. And I've made them follow the lines of the bigger pieces just to give it some sort of cohesion. And I really like that. We've got a big gap in this area, which might be quite cool for sort of plants to grow into as well. Lighting is good. I was thinking I might need 2, but I don't. The whole area is covered in light where it needs to be. We've got some darker spots under here, for instance, but we just put in things like crypts and that in those areas, and that will be absolutely fine. Speaking of planting, we're at that point now where we can crack on. So when you're doing your planting, I find it's always best to start with what's going to be like going onto the hardscape. So we call those epiphytes, which is a fancy way of saying they just stick to the wood or rocks. They don't need to be in roots, which is ideal because it means you can just place them anywhere. In this instance, I think I'm going to go with more bulbitis. I've been struggling with Java ferns recently in non-CO2 tanks. Bulbitis, though, I found is working really well. And that's the thing, when you're trying to work out what plants work for you and what don't, because not all of them will. Some plants work for me and other ones don't. So I just don't pick the ones that don't do very well. I know bulbitis works, I know anubias works well, I know bucephalandra works well. So I'm going to use all those to decorate the wood, and then I'll move on from there to the actual planting. So I've got a good selection at the moment actually of plants to choose from. There's loads of bulbitis and smaller anubias in there. There's some Java ferns. Some of those actually might work because they've been sat for a long time in a high humid environment, which means they're sort of semi-aquatic at the moment. Loads and loads of crypts to choose from in this one, so I'm definitely gonna utilize those. And for background plants, we've got a ton of Ludwigia in here doing really well as well, so I'll probably utilize that. There is a nice Echinodoros there, which might be good as one focal plant right in the back. And there's some Crypt Blansae there, and loads of Boost in that final tank. So we've got a good amount of plants. Time to prepare them all and take them out their pots. So first off, I'm going to start with the bulbitis. I've got 3 pieces here. I've got 2 medium size and 1 small. Now you can either glue it where you want it, or you can just find a crack. To start with, I'm going to put 2 together in this gap here. Hopefully they stay there, they should do. Sort of just lock them all in with the wood there. Yeah, they shouldn't come up. Look at that though. Instantly transforms that section. And I tend to want to put something else similar the other side, so I've saved the smaller one to come over here to give detail here. Again, I'm going to push it in that gap. Instantly, that looks good. And then I've got Anubias. Now I like to keep it together in the bunches. Look at this. All these plants are from Aquafleur, and you can just see how good it all grows. I mean, I've had this in those little tanks now for about a month, and it just continued to grow and looks so good. We've got to pick some nice points. I like this gap here. That should stay there. And then another one down here. It can go in shady areas. Not a problem at all. It barely needs any light to be able to grow Anubias. And then of course another one over this side as well. Oh look, there's a nice little crack in there. There we go, perfect. And then as a feature, I've got this one here. This is Copperfolia. It's got like a crinkled edge to it. A little bit more expensive, but look at how good it looks. And I think I want it to sit in this area here, but there's nothing to attach it to. So I'm just gonna glue a piece of rock to all of this root system. It'll be absolutely fine. And then that'll just weigh it down and sit in nicely where I want it. There we go, look. Rock attached to the bottom. I can place it wherever I want. And I can angle it as well, so it's sort of coming forwards. Yeah, I like that. And now it's time for our crypts. I like to keep the whole bunch together. I've just found in low-tech tanks with not as many nutrients as a whole aquasoil, the plant just does better when it's kept as one clump. So there's a nice little gap there. Deliberately planting the crypts in the shaded areas, they actually do much better in those areas. Use those rocks to sort of clamp it in. There we go, we've got detail there. There's quite a lot of light in this area, so I've got crypt flamingo here. It's green at the moment, but under the lighting, it will go pink. So I'm gonna put this out here because there's a little bit more light and it will just be a really nice focal point as well. Again, use the rocks and stuff to sort of clamp it down as well as the sand, because until those roots sort of take hold, it might try and come out of there, especially if we've got the cories going around. And then a bit more over on the right-hand side as well. Sometimes it's easier just to get your fingers in and then you can push it right down and bury it with all the sand and gravel. Nice. And then I've got a few nice pieces of boost as well, just for some added detail here and there. Just a little bit different to the Anubias, especially as it grows in. Now at this stage, I just fill the whole thing up with water. Some people don't, they like to plant the whole thing first, but for me, the stems, you can't see how they're sitting when they're just flopped over. So I fill it up, stops these plants growing out. It means I can take my time a little bit more with the next process, because I like to get the stems right straight away. I mean, for you guys, if they're low down or anything, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because you can let it sort of grow in. But I'm making a video and I want everything to look really good straight away, so take a little bit more time with it. So it's now the next day since we filled the tank up and it's gone very murky. To be expected, this whole big log that you see there, never been underwater, so it's going to leach tannins, and also the branches at the back, they've never been underwater either, so yeah, they will too. Now this is completely normal and we can clear it with a few things. First one being water changes, and over the course of like a month or two, the tannins being released from the wood gets less and less. You can also put products in your filter that will grab out the tannins as well and lock them in. Right, there we go, look, a quick 90% water change. That's removed a ton of the tannins before we've fitted a filter, which means they won't run through it and everything like that. It will continue to leach, but that first initial day is usually the worst. Now the good thing is we can now put in our background plants. And in this area, I just want tons and tons of stems. Now the way I do this is I don't take an individual stem and plant it in. I get a group of them, either from the pot or from other setups that I've got them established in. I put a little ring weight around the bottom and just sink it down so it goes right near the surface of the sand. Push it in a little bit, of course. And then the roots eventually just work their way down into the nutrient layer and you're good. Now I want to go predominantly green, so I'm going to be pinching some of the Ludwigia pilustrius green that you can see at the back there of this tank. It needs a trim up anyway because it's hitting the surface. Hello, puppers. It is actually their feeding time, so I'll give them some food in a sec. That's why they're begging to me. So cute. I've also ordered more of this Echinodoris here as well, because that is stunning. That should be coming shortly, so hopefully that comes before the end of the video. Obviously, no plants in the Malawi tank. Even though it's very dark, there is a lot of stems in the angelfish tank. This does need cutting back because no light is getting down the bottom now, which means that this lotus sort of stopped its growth and it was going nuts. So I'll clear some out of here as well. A lot of red and some sort of orangey tones, but I'll keep those together in one area just for a little colour pop, like a red zone, if you like. Quite a good amount of pearlweed in the tank next to it. That back section is quite long, so I might be able to take some sprigs of that as well. Just to, again, add in variety, different leaf shapes and textures. It all adds to like a better look, I think, unless you're going for this look, which is all the same. And there's a lot of Hygrophila pinnata. Again, it needs cutting back in the archerfish tank. Hello guys, I'll give you these guys some food as well. I've been feeding them the same thing as the pufferfish, the mealworms. They absolutely love it. Yeah, here's the mealworms. Look, we did have a fish death, just one of the tetras. Could have been old age. I put it in here and they just eat it so fast. Literally put it in earlier and it's just a skeleton there now. Here you go, puffers. Come on. Get your worms. They're not shy at all now. To start with, they didn't even come to the surface. Here we go, look. Gum. They're ravenous. They proper go for it. They try and rip it out of each other's mouths as well. Even though there's plenty to get, they sort of still fight for it. So you have to watch when you feed them to make sure everyone's getting one. Like this one here, he's trying to get one. they snatch it between them and stuff. The good thing is you can see in their bellies when they're full. So you can see who hasn't had any. And then I just make sure that one gets 1 or 2. But yeah, doing well. And then the archers, also very intelligent, more skittish, but they'll be waiting. There we go, bang. Do you see that? Did I catch that on camera? I think I did. Put one in the front here. A little bit more shy at the front. So what I tend to do is try and throw it towards them. When they see it, they get it. Any that they don't eat sinks down to the bottom eventually, and the loaches get them. It's good fun feeding them. Bang! So I've collected up a bunch of stems and also runner plants. We've got Eriocolon here, we've got some dwarf sage. Don't worry, look, there's a lot of stems there, to be honest, and I'm fortunate enough, obviously, to have all the tanks to be able to harvest them from. More than likely, you're not going to have that. So what I would do is go and get a pot of each, and then it's not too expensive, and just as they all grow, trim them and replant them. It's going to take some time, but obviously I want to have the finished result at the end of the video, and I have the ability to do that, so why not? Now what I'm going to do is go and use all of the hoops from the plants that I took out the pots previously, all of these ceramic rings, put them over the base of the stems, and then that'll weigh them down. I can just sink them in where they need to go. Not the runners though, obviously, I will plant them. So the first thing I want to do is get a lot of greens in this area here. I think that'll look really good. And then slowly merging into more of a red in the center, and then going back out to greeny yellows on the outside. So the most vibrant green I've got is this one, the Palustrious green. And like I say, because of the weights, look, I can just drop it. It sits on top of the sand straight away, and you've already got great height to the plant. You've got 2 of these. It should be plenty. One a little bit further back. Now that one you can actually see the ceramic rings, so I'm just going to push it in a little bit. Bring some of the pieces around the wood, just so it looks a bit more natural. Look at that, it's like it's been there forever. And then we got some pearlweed as well that we can mix about in that. One at the back, and then one in the foreground as well. Push that one a little bit deeper so it's just sort of creeping over the wood there. Perfect. Then I've got a massive bunch of the shorter Rotala. I want to go just next to that. Can't really see what I'm doing, but there we go, feed it down. It's going to be a bit fiddly with the wood, but that's all right. Again, I don't want it too tall, so I'm pushing it right down to the base of the aquarium. That looks a bit funny because obviously we've got to loop it all about. The idea I'm trying to give is that like this is all grown into that wood over time. I don't like this tall piece here too much because it's quite sort of rooty. So I'll trim that off. And I'm going to just push the trimmings down here. Because it's so dense, it all sort of locks itself in as well. There we go, looking good. Okay, now I've got a nice big tall bunch of Rotalas as well. I want that, no, it's not Rotala, sorry, Ludwigia, look, it's like a orangey tone. I'm gonna put that right in the middle. Oh, this is far down. I'm dusting up the water a lot here, but it doesn't matter. We can clear it in a minute with some API AquaClear. Oh, that's sitting lovely. And then next to it, I've got some more taller Rotalas as well. Very hard to maneuver in here. Oh, we've lost one, that's all right. So this piece here look, is just a little bit too sort of not with the rest, so I'm just going to trim it at that point with my fingers. There you go, look, and then it'll just sprout out some new ones. And then some nice Hygrophila polysperma sit next to that. You might not be able to see that to start with. Yeah, you can. Look at that, lovely, just filling that gap up there nicely. Right, now for the runners, I've got the Eriocolon here. And this is a really nice foreground plant because it doesn't sort of spread too fast at all. And that's about as big as it gets, to be honest. Great for a little bit of detail though and sort of merging areas in. Put a nice big one at the side here. And then I wanted to fill in this top area with the dwarf sage. This will go nuts over here as well. Got some nice runners coming off of it, look, to the surface. Okay, so that is mostly done. It looks a bit misty. Like I say, I've stirred everything up. It will look so much better when I've got it all filtered and looking good. Speaking of filters, that's what we need to fit now. Now, because of such a small bioload on the tank, we don't need some sort of heavy duty special filter. So I've got some old, real budget ones I bought a long time ago actually. Some of the first ones I bought when I started keeping fish. I'm not sure if they work, but we'll give it a go. Yeah, so here's the filter. I just opened it up. I didn't clean it out like 2 years ago when I put it in storage. Whoops. Funny thing is though, it doesn't smell at all, so that's a bonus. Just gonna spray it all off and then we can get it fitted. So I have fitted the filter inlet and outlet. The pipe runs down the back. It comes through in here and attaches to the budget filter.
Hopefully this, I probably should have checked that it was working before I plumbed it all in. Never mind, time to prime it. Okay, it's just a case of doing that. That's annoying. I think some of the pumpy mechanism thing is broke over the time. I'll have to do the old-fashioned route and siphon it in. Got it. I almost got a mouthful of water as well. I just managed to plug it in time, all good. Minimal spillage as well. And of course the water levels dropped a little bit. It's quite interesting actually. There's that much water loss just from that tiny little filter. So yeah, the water is very, very misty. Now to combat that, we have got API's AQUARIAN. This stuff is amazing. What it does is it binds all those little microscopic dust particles together to make bigger clumps, so that then they can go around and your filter can pick them up. Now you need to make sure that your filter's got fine filter floss in it, because it's so tiny these particles are, it needs to be able to catch those particles. If you've got like a coarse sponge, it's just going to pass through and just keep going round and round. So yeah, you need fine filter floss. Hang on, I've got some. Yeah, this sort of stuff. This catches everything. But yeah, you do not need a lot of it. That's why it's like a tiny little pot. So for this size tank, I need like that much. That's it. That was 10 mil. 10 mil? No, 5 mil. That was 5 mil. And then I can just switch the filter on. Yes, I just realized I still hadn't checked that it was working. It is working very well, actually. Yeah, there we go, just airing itself out. There'll be some bubbles trapped for a while, but actually it's really, really good flow generating. I don't need a power head or anything in this one. So yeah, we'll come back in a few hours and it should be crystal clear. So it is now the next day and look at that. We are crystal clear. There's a couple more little things I want to do for some extra detail. Oh, I also added a few more red plants to this section just to bring that sort of flow down into the foreground, because obviously all the rest is green. But yeah, all the plants are now standing up. I left the light on overnight. I find that if you leave the light on for 24 hours, when you first set it up, all the plants just go straight up and look sort of, I don't know, they look sort of bedded in and natural and not all sort of wiggly. And yeah, that's worked really well. But yeah, I want to add a few more details. So first detail being this here. This is oak leaves. I'm going to boil up some water, pour it on them, and that'll get them sink to the bottom straight away. And second of all, inside the angelfish tank, we've got quite a few of the frog bit here. Actually, no, that's not frog bit. That is something else. I don't know what that is. Ah, that's what it is. Mini water lettuce. That's what it is, yeah. I say mini. If you leave it long enough, it'll go huge, but it's staying small for now. Pour the water in. And then just let it rest for it. Oh, we're steamy. Let it rest for a bit. Right, it's been about 5 minutes. That's all I can be bothered to wait. I just put some cold in so I can actually lift this. But yep, some of them are sinking. That's good enough. Now, I only want a few in here. I'm just trying to create a little bit of added realism. So just let them settle where they want to. If they do want to. Oh no, oh no. No, no. Okay, we might need a little longer. I'll do the same process again. They're too floaty. They were sinking in the pot. Never mind. Anyway, whilst they're boiling, just tripped over that. Whilst they're boiling again, we can put in the mini water lettuce. And I'm hoping that will transform the top section to a bit more greenness. The light's also slightly too bright, and I think over time it might cause algae, so yeah, perfect. Good sort of handful, or 2 or 3. And then the filter is going to place these wherever it wants, and they'll just settle in some areas. You know, we've got all those bits of wood and that at the top there, they're going to get caught on that. I love the way the roots hang down though, that looks great. Currently they're doing a nice little rotation in the foreground, which is quite nice. So yeah, hopefully they won't sort of get stuck. I mean, eventually I'm expecting them to all do what these ones around here have done and just come around the back. Okay, we shall try again with the leaf litter. I think we are good now. Sink. Yes, that's better. I don't want to go over the top with this. It's just right in that foreground section, just a little bit of detail. That's why I've only got a few leaves. And then some more up this end as well. Would like a few pieces in on that middle section. There we go. Got to move slowly, otherwise everything tries to follow where you've been. So all those plants are like freshly in, and at this point I always add a leaf zone right away from the start of a tank, just because the root systems are not established at all, so they can't start pulling nutrients from the root tabs or any of the nutrients in the layer underneath the sand. So I just put a full dose right in the water column on day 1, and it just ensures that they can start using some nutrients to grow straight away. So always give your bottles a shake up, and then for this one I need
4, I think. And a little bit for luck. So yeah, leaf zone is literally the only fertilizer I use, always have done for like the past 4 or 5 years that I've been keeping fish, and it just works really well. Along with the waste from the fish, the poop, and this, I just don't feel like I need anything else at all. Okay, we are fish ready. I'm gonna start with a little sort of cleanup crew. We've got some cories and we've got a couple of bristlenose plecos, just young ones, and they'll just keep everything looking really good. The bristlenose plecos will just munch on the wood because it's right underneath the light and start to develop algae. It just always will unless you've got a cleanup crew. So they'll be working on that. And then the cories can stir up anything on the bottom, get it in the water column, and then the filter can take it out. So yeah, the cories first. With the bristlenose, we've got 5 agazizes. Really nice cory, look. Look at that. I don't want to go too heavy on bottom dwellers, just for a little bit of interest. Beautiful looking fish. And then next up is the Endlers. We've got a big group here. Look at that lot. Not a crazy amount. They are going to breed so fast, so I didn't want to go silly, but look at some of the colours shining under the light. That looks so good. Oh yes, look at the colours popping on that one. This light really does make the colours of the fish stand out quite nicely. Yes, that one there as well. Oh, they look so good. I'm really pleased with it. Okay, new tank, new filter. We need to add in beneficial bacteria. Always use Quick Start. I've used it so many times on so many setups and I never get any problems. Now the bioload of these fish in this volume is not going to be too dangerous anyway, but I always use it. Even if I've got like a mature filter and I add new fish, I always use a bit of Quick Start. That beneficial bacteria is just going to, like, think of it as an insurance policy, and it should make sure that you don't get any problems with ammonia or anything like that. So as always, shake it up and just add in what it says on the label because it's already formulated to be correct. And then another trick to make sure that they're settling nice and well and they know that this place is safe, stick in some food straight away, just a little bit, not like a big massive feed or anything, but I've got the Aquarian Complete tropical and temperate flake food. I use this for all my fish. And yeah, just a little sprinkle over the top here, look. Hopefully they're not too shy to get on it. Sometimes I just do that in the water to make sure it sinks down and the surface skimmer doesn't pick it all up. Yeah, look, straight away, they're all zooming around, picking up little pieces of it, settling in beautifully. Oh, this is gonna be a great tank. I can foresee in like a short amount of time, it's just gonna be filled with thousands and thousands of fish. These guys breed so fast, and also there's so many areas for the babies to be going to hide, so they're not predated on by the adults, because sometimes that can happen in like a small sort of space. But they're going to breed so fast and nicely. I cannot wait for that. Just thousands of them in here. And as the plant's growing as well, there's even more places to hide. So it's basically a sanctuary, isn't it, for Endlers? Love it. And not to forget some food for the cories, of course. For that, I use the AQUARIAN sinking pellets. Now, there's only 5 in here, so I really don't need many. Just a little pinch at the front, and that'll all drift down in the foreground, and that's where they sort of come and collect and eat. And it also, if you always do it in the foreground, they know to come there, and it means you can see them when you're feeding, because sometimes cories can be a little bit shy, especially when you've got this dense planting.
bye.